Cats don't know what it's gonna be. This is Common Filth Radio, episode 82. Thank you very much for listening. Common Filth Extra makes its return this week with episode 15. It serves as a compendium to the r/cuckold community video I uploaded recently. There are a lot of screenshots that I did not include in the original video for various reasons. Some of them are too long, some of them are too gross, and some of them are too long and too gross. So not only do I read them on Common Filth Extra episode 15, I also provide some commentary. I also talk about a lot of other things. It was a good show. I was happy with it, and it'll be worth your time and money. As always, it is $1 or more if you choose to pay more. And if you have not listened to any of the extra episodes or any of the Tumblrista's Raw collections I have on Bandcamp, 35% off. 35% off the entire discography. It is an excellent deal. So the newest addition to that discography, Common Filth Extra episode 15, a lot of you shared it. Thank you very much for sharing the cuckold community video. And there's more where it came from. And you can hear it on Common Filth Extra episode 15. So what are we going to talk about? We have a story from the Daily Dot here, or an opinion piece rather. And the Daily Dot, I am familiar with them a little bit. They featured one of my Facebook pages on one of their articles in their weird Facebook article. Full House Memes 2 was featured in that, and it sent a lot of traffic my way. So, and I don't know if I'm very thankful for that traffic, because who reads the Daily Dot? It's people like this, Brie Olson. Brie Olson's Untold Story, written by Brie Olson from thedailydot.com. My name is Brie Olson. I'm a former porn star. We're off to a great start. I'm a former porn star, and since retiring, I remained silent. Silent about being discriminated. Silent about being segregated. Silent about being threatened. Silent about being depressed, humiliated, and disgraced. Now, all of this could have been prevented if you did something with your time, if you did something for money other than sucking and fucking on camera. And the camera is something I've been wanting to talk about. My memory is jarred. I have all sorts of ideas of things I want to talk about. The camera is one of them. There's a really good interview with Bill Viola. He's a video artist, and he talks about cameras being keepers of the soul. And he used an example of this by recording footage of his mother on her deathbed. And he says, cameras are keeper of the soul. I say this is true. This is true to some extent. But the way this present generation uses the camera and other parts of previous generations, smaller segments of previous generations, the camera in our hands is a soul taker. Now, what is pornography? Pornography couldn't exist without the camera. And sure, you could say, well, there were cave etchings. Well, those were very primitive. Very, very primitive, and to be honest, they weren't really pornographic. They weren't titillating. They weren't like, oh man, these set of square tits are so hot. It didn't prompt that response. So pornography is a function of the camera. It is not possible without the camera. And the camera steals the soul, especially in pornography. You're laying yourself bare in the most vulnerable position. The most vulnerable of position, when in adulthood there should be only one person seeing you like that. And that is your husband, if you are a lady. And yeah, I get it. There are, gynecologists. That's an exception, but they aren't looking at your tits either. All right, they're dealing with one specific part of the female anatomy. So yeah, there you go. But you lay yourself bare in the most vulnerable, the most spiritually compromising position that you could possibly put yourself in, and you do it for everyone to see. Because it's not just this one video that you just look at, right? It is duplicated over and over and over and over again. And there's no generation loss like with VHS tapes. There are infinite amounts of copies of your sin documented for the world to see. Brie Olson Oh, I'm depressed, humiliated, and disgraced. You know what? That's society's fault. Let me guess. The rest of this opinion piece here on the Daily Dot is going to be, I blame society. But we'll continue. We'll give you the benefit of the doubt and continue with the story. So she goes on to say, the things I talk about in Real Women, Real Stories filming project are brief. Real Women, Real Stories by Matan Uziel brings awareness to critical issues that millions of women face every day. As a result of many different factors, however, many of them will never come forward to get the help they need. They will remain silent like I did for so long. I hope that because I shared a bit of my story through Real Women, Real Stories, others will have the courage to use their voices too. It's always courage, empowerment voices. The constant need for affirmation. You'd get this from a husband. You'd get this from your children. It's a feminine need. I get it. The constant need for external validation. Okay, I understand. It's not inherently evil. All right, I'm not gonna sit here and tell you that a feminine impulse is inherently bad. You can't allow yourself to follow it. However, as a man, you satisfy it in a loving, gentle, masculine way, and there you go. And there's a YouTube video. I'm not gonna even click on that. And the thumbnail is of her looking down, and it seems like she's sobbing. So, continuing. When I got into the industry at 19, I was just experimenting sexually. Oh, look where that led you. Yeah, you gotta experiment and be open with your sexuality. That'll lead you to some really good places. You gotta experiment and mess around. It's what 19-year-olds should be doing, because the 19-year-old mind is quite prepared for that psychological and spiritual burden of being a cum dump. No, it's great. Encourage your kids to be open and experiment with their sexuality and gender identity. It's great. It provides society a valuable service. We all grow from it, don't we? As you see this woman in a black and white filter, and she's looking down, and she looks worn out underneath the makeup. The makeup's trying real hard to hide how broken she is, but you can tell it's done. So she continues, I found it fascinating. I was a full-time student at Purdue University studying pre-med biology and also had a full-time job as a telemarketer. Now, there you go. You're on your way to becoming a doctor. And look what you want to do instead. Look, it's not funny, but you laugh or you cry at some point. I didn't want to be a doctor. I wanted to be a hooker. That's what they are. That's what porn stars are. They are prostitutes. Let's not get it confused here. They are prostitutes. So she continued. She had her shit together. What happened? I flew out to Los Angeles just to try it and was very shocked at the money to be made. I decided to drive. You wave a wad of cash in front of a girl, and I have something to say about this, by the way. I'm going to bring it up later. It has to do with infomercials, and a certain kind of infomercial, something I noticed. I flew out to LA just to try it and was very shocked at the money to be made. I decided to drop out of school eventually and make the most I could. I saw nothing wrong with being open with my sexuality, and my family and friends supported me. Wrong. There you go. These are the kinds of people who leave YouTube comments for me. I'm fine with parents being open with their kids being experiment. They could have an experiment with their sexuality, but this is just too far. They think the extremism is the problem and not the initial impulse itself. It's really sick. Where else? Your friends and family supported you. That's not support. That is enabling self-destructive behavior. This is really sad. Somebody should have sat this girl down and said, look, you have a good brain. Use that good brain. Be a good doctor. You'll have money. You could start a family, and you'll raise good children that way. All right? But no, she had people in her life who'd rather support her porn career, her prostitution career. I never lived in Los Angeles the entire time I even did porn. I flew there for work and carried on here in Indiana with what people would consider a very typical Midwest lifestyle. It wasn't until I decided to leave the industry at 25 that I realized how much society was judging me, and it's linked to something. It's a YouTube video. I'm just going to click on it. I'm not going to play the... Oh. It's her untold story. I'm not watching it. I'm not looking at it. It's society. It's society's fault. You didn't have a problem with it until society said, oh, that's wrong. You couldn't have come to that conclusion. You got to have some imagination. I'm going to do this. What does society think about it? What does average Joe Blow think about it? Possibly, potentially. And I know that all these girls, I think the height of intellectual discourse is not assuming, not making generalizations. That kind of thing. That kind of thing that they learn in college. They're taught to disregard their own intuition, their own previous life experiences. And a lot of people do this. Everybody says, oh, you had this experience. You didn't feel oppressed growing up as a teenage girl. Well, here's the invisible ways that your father oppressed you, and not because he was trying to raise you the right way. No, this is oppression. He wanted to stop you from becoming a sexually liberated woman. No imagination, and I believe that academia is at least 50% responsible for that. More. I'm being conservative with that estimate. In getting people to completely ignore their own instincts and their own experiences, and forming opinions and conclusions based around those intuitions and experiences. But no, it's okay. You got an A in the class, so that the means justify the end, or whatever. So I'd always push them out of my mind. Society. It's society's fault that you feel this way. I'd always push them out of my mind because I had gotten sucked into a media frenzy. I was exposed to the masses, and it killed me to see how they thought of me. Again, any reasonable person could come to this conclusion. I am a pornographer. People are not going to introduce me. Hey, this is my buddy. He does porn. Or, oh, this is my friend. She does porn. If you were like an engineer, you worked as a nurse, it'd be like, oh, hey, I'd like you to meet my friend. She's a nurse. She's a doctor. She's an engineer. That's not something you'd be ashamed of. But nobody wants to have that as a friend. At least nobody who belongs to a world that is interested in setting people upon the right path. I don't know. I mean, I guess I'm old-fashioned that way. But again, no imagination. It hurt me so much. What, you think they'd think of you any differently? How are you going to explain that to your kids if you move in next door? Or how's a person going to explain that to their children if you move in next door? Oh, what? What's that? What's that camera crew going into her house? Oh, ignore it. Why do you hear weird moaning and screaming sounds coming from her garage? Oh, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it, Junior. She's empowered. She's making art. She's making art. She's making art. Okay, I left a career where I made millions to try and gain respect. I pushed and struggled for years. People look at me as if I am the same as a sex offender. You are a sex offender. You just don't have to register as one. They look at me as though I am less than in every way, and they assume the absolute worst in every way. Why wouldn't they? Again, if you think just a couple of steps ahead, you'd see this coming. What's your name again? Bree Olson? People did you wrong. Your faith in man did you wrong. Okay. I had never realized how progressive my mind was. Oh, it's the rest of us who are regressive and backwards, right? Fuck you. See, any sympathy I'm having is leaving. It's gone. As soon as you use that word, done. I never realized how progressive my mind was and how scared people were of sexuality until this. You know, most people get married, all right? Most people, most cishet breeders, most of us, we pair bond with the opposite sex and it takes its natural course. And there's nothing shameful about that. We don't do it in front of people, but it's implied by the fact that we get married, we have kids, and nobody has a problem with that. Nobody's afraid of that. Most people can relate to that, right? You know, that's how we continue as a species. What you do is death. That's why people have a problem with it. They know on a visceral level. They can't put a word to it, but they know why it's wrong. On the cellular level, they know it's wrong. They don't need words for it. And the fact that we need to articulate an argument against this kind of stuff is emblematic of how far we've fallen. So she continues with, I also realized I could never go back and be a nurse or a teacher or work for any company really that can fire me under morality clauses for making customers feel uncomfortable, quote unquote, uncomfortable because of who I am. Who you are is somebody who sucks and fucks on camera for money. That's who you want to be? That's who you are. No, that's some dumb shit you did. Once upon a time. And I get it. Oh, the corporate environment's a slut shamer. Look, if it doesn't look good on a resume, it doesn't look good on a resume. You know, maybe you could write a book. Maybe you could write a book saying how horrible the pornography industry is and build up your respectability that way. Send out a warning signal to all the girls out there. Scream from the mountaintop. Don't do it. You could help a lot of people with your fuck up, but you decide not to. You blame society for making you feel bad. Progressive my mind was. Your mind isn't that progressive. You couldn't think your step, okay, if I do this, people will think this, and if people will think this, this will happen and I'll feel this way. Your mind ain't that progressive. Moron. There are no royalties in porn. I see ads to this day and my movies are everywhere on the internet. These faceless people behind the industry still make millions and face no repercussions. And I am left to try and come up with ideas of how to have my own business because there's not much else I can do. Well, you can write sob stories for the Daily Dot. Just join the Daily Dot staff. Wow, we have a sex worker on staff. We have a really diverse staff. There you go. Here's your new career, writing clickbait. Oh, that's so sad. Let me share it on Facebook. It's so sad. This is what slut shaming does to society. You see, there you go. You have the backing of millions of sorority girls who read this shit and feel personally, they feel like they identify with this. Just write an article titled, "There's the little Brie Olson in all of us. Take the Brie Olson quiz." Do that. Do that. Or start a YouTube channel where there's a bunch of ukulele music. That's another idea. And you'll have the backing of millions of sorority girls. It's not that difficult. There you go. Your imagination sucks. I mean, we've already established that, but with regard to future careers for a former porn star, man, I just don't get it. Why people are sex work advocates. Does anything good come from it? Oh, man. We are the only entertainment industry that doesn't offer talent royalties after they are gone. So now I am shunned by society and broke. Well, these people are smut merchants, and smut merchants usually aren't the most ethical people. They aren't like renegades for the working class. You know, they aren't advocates for the working class. They aren't workers' advocates. They aren't union bosses. Maybe they should be. They'll find a way to be more corrupt. I've had people recognize me off just my voice alone. Porn is the one industry where the more successful a woman is, the more she will suffer for the rest of her life. Well, Again, you have to deal with how society is structured. You should have known this. My mind's progressive. Your mind's not progressive. It is stupid. It is stupid. In desperate need of guidance, but nobody's going to want you now. There's no shepherd to guide you. None. My biggest regret was leaving the industry, leaving all of that money and trying to get the world to like me. They still don't, and they never will. I should have just put in another 5 years at least, so that in more my smart financial years, as I was older, I could have saved enough to live comfortably for the rest of my life. Again, if your mind was so progressive, you would have figured this out. You figure out how much money do I need for the rest of my life? How many years can this sustain me? People hate me, and if they knew me, I'm one of the nicest people they'd ever meet. Everybody's nice. Everybody's nice when your interactions with them are shallow. Everybody's nice. It's a shame. It's a shame for everyone. My message to young girls is to be careful. Things don't just work themselves out when you get into the industry or leave it. You become a segregated part of society that has no civil rights group behind it. Life is already hard enough. Don't do this to yourself. The money isn't worth the pain of what society will put you through forever. Again, it's society. It's society, not don't degrade yourself in the way that I degraded myself. Because people will know that. They will respond viscerally. As much as that visceral reaction has been programmed out of them by academia and television and whatever, people still have that wisp of passion when it comes to aversion to this. Porn didn't hurt me the way society treats me for having done it does. Of course, it's everybody else's fault but mine. Guess the race of this woman, by the way. It's always somebody else's fault, right? Look, I feel bad for you, but you're stupid. You're really, really fucking stupid. Again, notice how she didn't say, I was a pre-med student. I was going to be a doctor. I was at Purdue University. I had a job as a telemarketer at the same time. Things are going pretty well for her. And she fucked it up for what? Money. Give it to me now. I want it now. I want it now. And this bitch has the nerve to blame society for her stupid fuck up. Her very avoidable fuck up. So, you get what you get. If you were more sympathetic, if you had more grace about you, instead of blaming society, I might feel a little bit bad for you, but as it stands, whatever. You know, I've been staying up late, and this is where this comes in. And watching infomercials, I don't know why. The artist can't avert his eyes, right? As Werner Herzog says. So, late at night, these infomercials come on. And these infomercials, they sell lots of products, and a lot of them offer some vague promise of improved sexual pleasure through this supplement, or whatever, cream supplement, whatever it is. And there's one infomercial selling something called Enhanced Male. And in this infomercial, there are a number of people interviewed talking about herbs from the tropics, acting as ancient aphrodisiacs, as Asian women with breast implants prance about on the beach. And every single person interviewed in this infomercial mock documentary thing, I tweeted this, they have this aura of despair that only those who suck and fuck for money possess. That aura of despair, only a career in pornography can create. Like, it's a guy when he's bigger, he looks more manly. And the guys talk about, like, yeah, I'm so much more confident. And you just see the what have I done all over their faces. You know, men who are probably molested by some truck stop sodomite talking about enlarged manhood and lots of passion, and women who are probably real popular in high school talking about animal magnetism and how much size matters. Wow, he's so big. It's just like magnetics. And they're talking about it in this mansion, talking about it in some 46-year-old pot-bellied Jew who has hair on every inch of his body, who makes like $120,000 a year doing this kind of stuff. And he thinks he's real hot shit. And he waves a wad of cash like Brie Olson here. She got real starstruck when she saw a stack of 100s being waved around by some hairy middle-aged dude. Look, honey, I'll give you lots of money. I'll make you a star. And and she's like some 19-year-old dipshit who thinks she knows better than her parents. Fuck you, mom. Fuck you, dad. You don't want me to... It's so stupid. You know, it's not just one fuck up. It's a very clear lineage of fuck ups, each one leading to the next. And this is why they call slippery slope a fallacy, to obscure the inevitability of human behavior. And yeah, he waves a camera in front of this fuck you mom girl, and he promises to make her a star and a road to stardom, which starts with fake infomercial testimonials about cum. And she does that in the afternoon, and at night she's blowing some fag she met 5 minutes prior at the same mansion, at this guy's mansion. And this is the final result of fringe capitalism, late capitalism, whatever you want to call it. And if the thought of this indignity doesn't send signals of sadness and concern throughout your God-given nervous system, you're a part of the problem. Now, when you read a story like this, where she's blaming society and she actually had options in life and she still fucked up willingly, then, you know, I get it, that impulse of sadness and concern goes away, and that's fine. But, you know, initially, I felt bad for this girl initially. I felt bad for the people in this infomercial initially, but if this is what they do, they leave it and then blame society for the bullshit they've done to themselves. No. Done. Loser. Where do these people come from? A lot of people say we live in very socially atomized times. A lot of people don't have roots. A lot of people aren't involved in civic life. They don't have their actual community. You know, a community based around something other than cum. People aren't involved with the lives of others, in short. I guess that's what you can say. That's a conclusion you can draw. And because of this social atomization, people don't view their actions as having broader effects, as we see in the story of Brie Olson. They don't view their actions as having broader effects at all. They wrongly assume that dysfunctional, destructive behaviors are innocuous. They don't affect anybody because the actions occur in isolation, or that's what they think. This girl thought, oh, I'm just doing porn. It's going to happen in isolation. Nobody's going to know. You know, this video that's going to be duplicated however many times over. Look, if this were true that nothing affects anything, it doesn't affect you, the internet would find itself mostly free of the filth that inundates it. If dysfunction did not beget dysfunction, the internet wouldn't be such a terrifying place. Society would not be such a terrifying place. I want to read that last part of that article here. Porn didn't hurt me the way society treats me for having done it does. And then before that, she was saying, my message to young girls is to be careful. Things don't just work themselves out when you get into the industry or leave it. You become a segregated part of society that has no civil rights group behind it. Yeah, that's the problem. We need more porn activists, right? Life is already hard enough. Don't do this to yourself. Okay, that's fine. That's where you should have ended it. You should have taken the part out about civil rights groups, because even if you had one, and there are groups out there, nobody takes you seriously, though. For good reason, but give it another 5 years. Probably less, who knows. You should have just said, my message to young girls is to be careful. I'm going to edit this for you. My message to young girls is to be careful. Life is already hard enough. Don't do this to yourself. The money isn't worth the pain of what society will put you through forever. No, the society... Take that part about society. It's what you did to yourself and how you feel about yourself. If your feelings hinge upon what society thinks of you, don't do stupid shit. It's that simple. You defiled yourself. You made yourself worthless. You made yourself a cum dumpster. You and nobody else. All you need to say is the money isn't worth the degradation. That's it. End of opinion piece. There you go. Take all the bullshit about society and say, this was my fault. I'm a smart girl who had options and I pissed it all away. For what? For what? So speaking of dysfunction, I saw this ad. I took a screenshot of it on my phone. And yeah, it's an ad. And here's what it says. This is from the Tree Kisser. I have no idea what the Tree Kisser is, but they're advertising some sort of shirt. And the shirt says, Dogs Before Dudes. Our best-selling Dogs Before Dudes pullover is back in stock. 10% of this of sales this month will be donated to the Animal Hope and Wellness Foundation. Okay, great. Now, remember that one girl some number of weeks back? I opened up the show with it, where she's like, I fuck dogs, it doesn't affect you. And I looked back at something I said in June of last year, that there's an epidemic of dog fucking women out there. There's lots of ladies out there who are having sex with their dogs, and I'm not sure what prompted me to say that. This is something I wrote out of passion and sent it. So I can't tie a specific event. I can't find that in my memory bank. But I came across this story. This is from Friday, March 25th, 2016. And this is from wistv.com. Sheriff. Chesney woman arrested after videos of sexual acts with dog. Okay, great. Now, at first when I saw this, I thought it's a Chinese woman. you can make your own punchline there. But here we go. It's from Chesney, South Carolina, Fox, Carolina. Cherokee County Sheriff Steve Mueller said that a Chesney woman was arrested after deputies determined she had shared videos of herself performing sexual acts with a dog. Is it Mueller or Mueller? I don't know. Mueller said deputies began investigating after receiving a call from the North Charleston Police Department on March 11th. Officers from that municipality said they had been contacted by a person who was being sent the videos which involved a dachshund. A wiener dog? Those creatures are ridiculous enough as it is. Don't make it harder for them. Deputies were able to determine that the incidents depicted in the videos occurred in Cherokee County and secured a warrant charging 23-year-old Hannah Marie Haynes of Montgomery Road with buggery. Oh man, that's a thing still? Man, I gotta move to South Carolina. They sound like my kind of people. You call an offense what it is. Buggery. That's fantastic. South Carolina seems like they're good people in South Carolina. So good for them. Haynes was arrested on Thursday and later released on a $5,000 bond. $5,000 bond. Bond. Duh. Look, I'm aware that I say a lot of out there things on this show, but there's a silent epidemic. It's far more prevalent than we'd like to believe. These women having intimate relationships. Society shouldn't look down upon it. You know, these women having their same love relationships with their dogs. Look, it's just a gut feeling. It's not the first time I've had one of these kinds of stories on the show. No, we're going to dig back into the past. This is from 2004. And the headline from ESPN, Parcells apologized for making ethnic remark. And this is from June 9th, 2004. Now, notice what they said here. Ethnic remark, not racist remark. You know, racism, it used to be a pretty serious accusation. Now anybody can be racist. He made an ethnic remark, not a racist remark. Look how much changes in 12 years. So I'll read it, and we'll put this into context. Irving, Texas. Bill Parcells apologized Monday for calling the surprise plays used in practice Jap plays, saying the remark was inappropriate. The league said Tuesday that it will not take any action, nor will it review the Cowboys coach's comment. NFL spokesman Greg Aiello said the league has accepted Parcells' apology. It's quite obvious Bill Parcells made an inappropriate comment. He said, "We don't expect he'll do it again," and there you go. Didn't escalate from there. Now, let's fast forward to the NFL today, where anything is racist, everything's racist instead of ethnic, and you're homophobic. Now, I guess they call it the gay agenda. I mean, people laugh at that, and gays use it ironically now, which means that they're going to use it sincerely in very short time here. So, we're going to read this one. Rams made deal with NFL to draft Michael Sam to not film Hard Knocks, report says. A longtime NFL reporter revealed Wednesday the NFL agreed to a deal, and this from CBS Local, New York. Okay, Wednesday, the NFL agreed to a deal where the Los Angeles Rams, then St. Louis, didn't have to do HBO's Hard Knocks series in 2014 if they drafted Michael Sam. Sources say NFL agreed not to have Rams on Hard Knocks in 2014 if they drafted Michael Sam. Howard Balzer tweeted, Sam was the first openly gay player drafted by an NFL team. The Rams selected him in the 7th round of the 2014 NFL Draft. Sam was not shocked by the report. I'm not surprised at all, Sam tweeted. Balzer reported the NFL was concerned Sam wouldn't be drafted, so a deal was made with the Rams. So in other words, they're rigging professional sports. They're forcing them to draft players they would not otherwise draft. Rams didn't want Hard Knocks even without Sam. League concerned he wouldn't be drafted. Deal made. There you go. It was a whole PR stunt, much like this guy's joke of a career. Rams head coach Jeff Fisher called the report absolutely absurd. And he says he denies it, and he's doing his PR thing. That in itself is absolutely absurd. It's 100% incorrect, Fisher told ESPN's Mike and Mike on Thursday. I was really taken aback by those comments. It's insulting from my standpoint as it relates to Michael. We had 3 7th-round picks. When we drafted Michael, he was the best player on the board. Who in their right mind would think that you give up a draft choice to avoid doing something like that? Well, look, if you had 3 of them, what's 1 7th-round draft pick? And to put that into context, there are only 7 rounds in the NFL draft. So in other words, it's real bottom of the barrel stuff. I mean, they're like the worst of the best because there are undrafted free agents that they sign after the draft. But it's a 7th-round pick. They very rarely pan out. They very rarely make an NFL team and contribute to it in the long term and in any meaningful way. And he continued, it's really unfair to Michael. Michael worked so hard. It's really not fair to Michael because all the hard work he put in, blah, 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 platitude. And Hard Knocks is a show where they follow a team for 4 weeks, 4 episodes at their training camp leading up to the NFL regular season. Now, they say, no, this is untrue, blah, 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 it's untrue. Well, if it's untrue, it is odd that the same league, the NFL, does this. NFL threatens Atlanta with losing Super Bowl over bill protecting gay marriage objectors. Atlanta, Georgia, March 22nd, 2016, LiveSite News. The National Football League says Atlanta could be left out of consideration for hosting a Super Bowl if new legislation is enacted that aims to protect the conscience rights of citizens who oppose same-sex marriage. So what they're saying is that you can't have the wrong opinions about this. You can't have the wrong side of history opinions about this. Oh, it's on the wrong side of history, but you can't have those wrong think opinions. And this is not the first time the NFL has done this. They did it with Arizona over a similar bill a couple of years ago. They will threaten to bar a city from hosting a Super Bowl over legislation that ensures the First Amendment rights of its citizens. But it's out of the question that they'd force a team to draft a player for public relations purposes. Something's not right here, is it? They say, no, it's not true, that's not true yet. They do this. In the same week that the story that they forced the Rams to draft a homosexual football player, same week that story breaks, this one also breaks. And people think I'm bullshitting when I say that there is a very clear social hierarchy in white nations. If you want to know who rules over you, who is considered your superior, observe who is beyond reproach. It's not that difficult. Think. Use your God-given intuition. Your rights endowed by the Creator, they're revoked by who on behalf of who? Men who suck cock. Every people, every collective, every tribe has a lifespan. And that's all I'm going to say about it. That's all I need to say about it. If you say everything, you say nothing. So I'll leave that one to imagination. But look how many signs we ignore. Look at what happened with Chick-fil-A a couple years ago. They support traditional marriage, that Christian guy? Oh my God. Let's protest against them. And look how they protest. These homosexuals go and have kiss-ins at their restaurants. How petulant. That's how children behave. Or Hobby Lobby, same thing. Or how about last year? Memories Pizza, the Indiana Religious Freedom Bill, and this golden retriever girl reporter going around to local businesses saying, would you cater a gay wedding? And this one lady, she's like, well, if somebody asked us, we'd have to say no. And the owner of this small town pizzeria, this family that owns this small town pizza place, they were threatened. Death threats were sent their way. And I documented this. I still have these screenshots from their GoFundMe. One homosexual guy, he's like, I'm giving you $5 for your funeral expenses. Not the exact quote, but that's what he said. So many warning signs. If this is what you value the most, this is what you're going to get. Again, every tribe, every culture, every race has a lifespan. And a pretty good indicator of the end of that lifespan is what a people, what a tribe values above all else. And it begins with permission. It begins with tolerance. That's how it begins. What is at first tolerated eventually becomes celebrated. And I find it very odd that we celebrate a funeral. It's not a thing that comes to mind when you think of a celebration, but that's what we're doing. Now, remember one of the first stories I read on this show this year? It's from New York Times. Brussels police investigate reports of police orgy amid terror alert. When did this happen? December 30th, 2015. What happened to Brussels last week? Anybody? Show of hands. You think the terrorists aren't looking at stuff like this? They aren't looking at the stories that reveal the soul of their targets? What occupies the attention of their targets? Look, I'm not going to read this. You can, look it up. Brussels police orgy. It's the first result on Google. But here it was, writing on the wall. This city was going to go down in flames sooner or later because its people have no sense of obligation, no sense of duty, no sense of priority other than, come, dude. They can't control their horny levels. It's sick. There are blood speckles, blood stains on many hands in this situation, but Brussels police, Brussels authorities, they certainly share a lot of it. They do. And look how people respond. Somebody sent me a tweet of pictures of Swedish women in hijabs to show solidarity in response to this. Now, remember when we read the story that from Sweden, not your women, in response to these groups going around and beating up immigrants in Stockholm or wherever it was, and that's how their women respond. When a tribe becomes suicidal, that also signals an end of life thing. It goes to show you that they are at the end of their lifespan. And look, I'm not saying this to be defeatist. You're being defeatist. Blah, blah, blah. No. How can it be defeatist when it's not a battle I'm fighting? What I'm warning you about is placing your faith in this, making a religion out of other people, What's going on right now? A war between Europe and ISIS, the Islamic State. I came to this conclusion. And to relate this back to my show, if my show has one theme, it is overall social decay. And it resonates with a lot of people. I have a surprising number of Muslims in my audience, believe it or not. And that indicates to me they have a lot of problems with the common people of their culture. And if ISIS is representative of the common people of their culture, yeah, that's not good. See, the story of Europe and ISIS is one of implosion versus explosion. One, a people that are passively terrible and a people that are actively terrible. And you're seeing just how they interact. The story of ISIS versus Europe is that of two dying civilizations throwing their last temper tantrums. ISIS is explosive, Europe is implosive. ISIS is actively terrible, Europe is passively terrible. I saw someone say recently that in Europe, and I assume Western Europe, Northern Europe, they have a saying, hey, it's your choice if somebody does something. Hey, it's your choice. It's your choice and that's it. And this is somebody, I think they were on my channel. And it could have been somewhere else, but that's what was said. That's a European mindset. In other words, complete fucking apathy. And with these terrorist attacks, these recent terrorist attacks, we are seeing how apathy interacts with antipathy. It's pretty fascinating, isn't it? Some interesting times to be alive. So with all that being said, hope you're enjoying this bright and sunny Monday, this brand new Monday edition of Common Filth Radio. And yeah, I'm going to be doing it on Monday, releasing new episodes Monday, 9 a.m. local time. I scheduled them in advance to upload on their own. No, not upload on their own, just release to people's subscription feed at 9 a.m. local time. So it's the same time slot, but a different day. And yeah, I think I'm going to keep the Tumblrista / whatever other sort of social media video I want to do on Thursday. I might move it to Wednesday if I have the time on Monday and Tuesday to write and edit those kinds of videos, but we'll see what happens. But yeah, Monday, Common Filth Radio on Monday is here to stay. And I also hope you had a good Easter. God is good. He is risen. Wonderful. And as I open Reddit, I see this. I gave my boss a blowjob after work in order to keep my job. AMA. Oh, Reddit. Let's not blame the website. The website is neutral. Reddit's a very mainstream website, as we established some short time ago. So we will do Reddit questions, r/commonfilth, the question comment thread that is up weekly. I encourage you all to take part. Why do technology-related communities serve as a means for anarchist, children, and homosexual devil worshippers to convene? What do you think attracts them to these places? Places with a technological focus like more obscure image boards and 4chan's G. Technology-related fields are almost entirely abstract and sedentary. You don't need to move around a whole lot to work a job in programming, to work a job dealing with technology. Now, if you're building the technology, that's one thing. But if you're using it to code, program, or whatever, which I'm not against, I don't think is an evil thing on its own, but it's sedentary lifestyle. That's what is causing these crazies to congregate within these communities. Now, I'm not immediately familiar with the image board you're talking about, 4chan's G. I'm not familiar with that, but I don't need to be in order to come to that conclusion. Your brain goes crazy if you sit still for too long. If you don't have enough physical rigor in your life, you end up something in your brain, it breaks. You got to have some sort of physical activity. Now, a lot of people, as we've seen, like with the fit crowd or whatever, with these bodybuilders, my gains, got to have my gains. With those people, they take it too far in the other direction and they end up fetishizing the male aesthetic. And that leads them down the same path as those who live a sedentary lifestyle. So if I'm gonna come to a conclusion, that's my conclusion. Even though I think there are more factors at play, but I think that is 4 out of 5 things wrong with that world. It's just the fact that people don't move around a whole lot. Can you describe to me your salvation experience? Like, how did you eventually get saved / what led up to it? Again, it's not one thing I can point to and say that's the thing. When I started living life independent of any sort of other influence like academia, and I started looking up the Bible on my own and started relating it to things that happen in real life, current events, things that happen in my life, I realized these people came to very, very wise conclusions, the people that wrote the Bible, and people that were there to observe Jesus doing what he does. Very smart people. And they did it with very limited means. Think about it. We have access to pretty much any opinion, any piece of information we can imagine. It's all out there on the internet. They didn't have that back then. The only thing they had was direct divine inspiration. And that's a big part of what brought me to Christianity, back to it. The ability to convey this eternal wisdom, all of this information, this wisdom that still applies to this very day. There has to be a constant there. There has to be a constant factor in that. That if it was true back then, it's true now, and it will always be true. And that's a big part of it. It wasn't some single event. It was a very slow trickle. And I hope that is a satisfactory answer. Next, do I have water? I don't have water. Thank you, CF, for reading out my brief note on English avant-garde, fringe, anti-establishment music groups. Sorry for the link overload. Here's a few that may get to the point. Genesis Porridge, Wikipedia. Genesis Brer Porridge, born 22nd of February 1950, is an English singer-songwriter, musician, poet, born in England. Okay. Is that right? Victoria Park, alongside Manchester. Yeah. Okay, singer-songwriter, musician, poet, performance artist, and occultist. After rising to notability as the founder of COUM Transmissions Artistic Collective, and then fronting the industrial band Throbbing Gristle, Porridge was a founding member of the Temple of Psychic Youth, a cult group, and fronted the experimental band Psychic TV. She/he identifies as third gender. What did I say about the life cycle of tribes? Born in Manchester as Neil Andrew Megson, Porridge developed an early interest in art, occultism, and the avant-garde while at... this is upsetting. What else? There's photos from Brainwashed. This is some sick people. I'm a she-he. She-he? Sounds like a laugh. Sounds like how I might laugh. Okay. Yeah, this is upsetting. And indicative, emblematic of a tribe's impending death. Hey CF, check out this based DPR commander punishing a drug dealer. If there was ever a country which showed Slavs in their best light, as in the laws we support, then the way we execute punishments for the laws being broken, the DPR would be the best example, because there is no political correctness to stand in the way of distributing punitive measures. After the video got cut off, he was beaten to death, for the wages of sin is blank. Yeah, I mean, I don't know where I stand on the whole capital punishment thing, leaving the state with that kind of power. I think that there are some people that can be rehabilitated. I don't want to take that too far, because we see where it goes. Tolerating the worst criminal elements, like in Europe. You can't even go out at night in some place because you get raped. Yeah, that's what that leads to. So, that being tolerance, a lot of tolerance towards criminal elements. Again, I don't know on what side of the fence I fall on. The death penalty doesn't sit well with me, but seeing the opposite, seeing the alternative, it's it's difficult to argue against what they do. And there's a response here. Maybe it's just my Western sensibilities, but that's pretty fucked. For those unaware, DPR is Donetsk People's Republic, the state, sort of established by rebels in what was quite recently East Ukraine. Yeah, like I said, and it seems like a no-win situation regardless of what direction you decide to take your justice system in. Is marital rape real? Have you ever voted? Well, voted on what? I voted on a lot of things, but we have to talk about what I voted on. And is marital rape real? I've never encountered it myself or heard any stories from anybody I know, so as far as I know, it doesn't happen with anybody involved in my life, but it's a big world out there. There are a lot of sick, sad people out there, so to say it doesn't happen would be daft. Pope Francis to wash refugees' feet on Holy Thursday. Actually, he didn't just wash them, he kissed them. He kissed their feet. That's sick. That's some sick fetishist shit. So fuck the Pope. Look, nothing the Pope does is good. He is more responsible for turning away. He's more responsible for turning away more souls from Christianity than anybody. He has led more souls astray than anybody. Is this a Christian thing to do in your opinion? Does Christianity teach people to be cucks? How should we oppose the chosen tribe if the Bible says that you should love your enemy? Or should we instead be militant Christians like fighting evil by force? Well, look, you're applying this whole love thing with a worldly definition of love. Love is setting those upon the right path. That's love, not let me make out with your bunions. That's sick. And 3, what kind of punishment do evildoers deserve? For example, for spreading degeneracy and lies on TV, or ruining a country economically / socially, or people like George Soros who incite revolutions. That's difficult to say. You should definitely fight back. It's not like Jesus never used violence. He did. You got to use your intuition. You got to use your wisdom in deciding what you're going to do with those who are hostile towards you. And let it be known, Christ never said pay tribute to the stupid idiot beliefs of other people. You follow me. You spread my gospel, not anybody else's. The Pope gets it, I think, that you can't have people who are antithetical to Christian life invading your Christian nations. I'm pretty sure he understands that, but he doesn't care because he is sent to destroy the church. He is sent to ruin souls, to turn souls away from Christ. He's a sick man. I've never liked him, never will. Anything he does is tainted with communism, with other gods before. I wouldn't be surprised if he's the Antichrist, because he's well liked by a lot of people, not by me. But a lot of people like him for some reason. I remember having a conversation with my grandma. I said something about the Pope in passing. She's like, oh, he's a good Pope. And right there I knew it. This guy's no good. Nobody's paying attention. He's like the Vatican's Obama. Oh, man. Look, I appreciate a lot of the effort here that some of you take in writing your questions, but you gotta limit yourself, especially when it comes to these giant walls of text. There's a couple of them following up. It's like one after the other. Look, it's difficult. You gotta make this easy for me, you, and everybody listening. It's like people ask me, hey, can I send an email? How long's too long? Look, if it's informative, interesting, and easy to read, I'll read it. But this wall of text stuff, I can't do it. It slows me down. It breaks my train of thought. It breaks momentum. Please, I read this off microphone. Just, you gotta keep it entertaining. If it's going to be at any length, it has to be entertaining, informative, groundbreaking, whatever. All right. I'm not going to harp it on it anymore, but just pay some mind to me. All right. Just pay some mind to the listeners. Pay some mind to yourself. Question 1 is globally spread business. I wanted to say disease. Yeah, globally spread business. I called it disease. So there you go. That's all you need to know. Like having McDonald's restaurants in America and other countries, even intercontinental ones, something Christian businessmen should avoid in today's age. I mean, we can't really stop the globalism that already exists, so is it bad to take a piece of the pie for your own personal benefit? Well, I'll use the two highest profile examples of Christian business, which I already did earlier on this episode of the show. Chick-fil-A and Hobby Lobby. Neither of them have international locations. And I think those two companies are great examples of what good companies should be. And I'd like to take this opportunity to talk about something that a previous question reminded me of as well. You know, when people say, oh, is it cuck? What about the Pope? What about the Pope? Fuck the Pope. Let's use the Amish for an example. We like to ignore the Amish. The Amish are the most sincerely devout Christians on the planet. I don't see their communities overrun with Somalians who have no interest in Christianity whatsoever. I don't see them sacrificing the future of their faith or the future of their family. So God bless the Amish. They know what they're doing. Maybe we should take a page out of their book. And other questions here. What about demographics of morally weak people? Imagine the waifu-obsessed weeaboo audience. Most of them buy anything that is moe, and they buy stuff and watch stuff that is not beneficial to them at all, and spend tons of money on all of it. Do you think it is wrong to prey on their consumerist tendencies, or should one strive to put out compelling artistic content that is less enabling to a destructive people, even if it will sell massively less? All of this is assuming you're not making degenerate crap like body pillows with anime girls in their underwear. Well, look, the people into this stuff are engaging in a very unhealthy form of escapism. Now, what I do here, I'd like to think is the opposite of escapism. Maybe I'm turning people towards anime escapism. Maybe I should stop doing what I do. I really hope that's not what I'm doing, because that is definitely not my intention. That is not what you should be taking away from this. I should not. What I do, it should not be interpreted as, oh, this is bad, I need to go into my anime bubble. No, the whole point is that you need to leave the bubble and realize life for what it really is, what society is. You need to realize what society has become. And yeah, it is wrong to prey on the vulnerable. And it is wrong to make a buck off of the vulnerable, the lonely, the isolated, the clueless. It's wrong. What you need to do is tell them, look, this is wrong. Here's what you need to do. You need to do X, Y, Z, and you'll be good. I will be your shepherd. Follow me. Follow my directions. That's what needs to be done with these directionless people, these broken people who crave constant escapism. And yeah, making a buck off of these people, their dysfunctions, wrong. Hello, CF. What do you think of Mel Gibson's The Passion of the Christ? It's been a long time since I've seen it, but the portrayal of Christ's crucifixion in that movie, I think, is the most effective. A lot of movies. I saw that movie recently, Risen, and they didn't show the whole crucifixion, so they didn't show everything leading up to it, but The Passion of the Christ, it shows it as a very brutal thing that it was. Very uncompromising, which I thought was genius on the behalf of Mel Gibson. And it's one of the most financially successful independent movies of all time. I don't think it received much backing from the tribe's Hollywood studio institutions. That's why they don't like him, I think. I mean, think about if he never went on that rant or whatever that was recorded. They still don't like him for a very, very effective portrayal of the essence of Christianity, the sacrifice that Christ made. Next. Hello, CF. Keep up the great work on your show. Thank you. But onward to the question I have. What should Christianity be like? One unified church that guides the billions of faithful individuals, or the current model of denominations for people to choose what they like or need? Well, picking and choosing, that's wrong. We're not cafeteria Christians here. That's bad. A lot of the churches around here, they have banners outside of it. Progressive Christianity, LGBT affirming Christianity. It makes me fucking sick. So yeah, what people like what they like, no. What they need is the truth. Not oh, let's appease the world and say, oh, well, Jesus is cool too. Making faith this secondary thing rather than the filter through which they interpret the world. It's sick. I know I'm saying that a lot, but it is. They want to appease worldly, horrible things and tie Jesus into it to make them seem more deep. Like, oh wow, you're not like other Christians. It's a very feminine impulse, by the way. Well, that's different, not all. It's terrible. But see, this is a very broad question. I don't like these kinds of questions. I'm not qualified to say, oh, we need to do this, this, and this with regards to these major institutions. Look, my interest in Christianity is limited to the scriptures, really, and how they inform my interactions with my fellow man, how they inform my behavior. Christ was the greatest who ever lived, and there are so many truths that still hold up to this day in the Bible. That's my interest in it. And you know what? Something like the Catholic Church, it can collapse for all I care. Like I've said, the whole culture surrounding Catholicism, I've talked and heard so many stories about these former Catholics who are like, no, none of that. There's something very toxic in the culture that is turning away people from, turning people away from God. I think the Catholic Church has done far more damage in the last however many years than it has done any good, especially with this fucking Pope. And I have a lot of Catholic listeners, but this is just something I need to say, and I hope they understand. There's something wrong with the common culture of Catholicism that is turning young people away from it. I don't know what it is because I'm not in that culture, but from the outside, it looks like it's something that needs to be fixed. Now, somebody else can provide some additional context for that. If you're a Catholic who's like, yeah, the Catholic culture is kind of weird, I'd like to hear from you. And if you are a Catholic and saying, no, they're misinterpreting it, I'd like to hear from you as well. Not questions, but comments. Because, there are a lot of you. I don't have every answer. That's why it's question and comment thread. All right? So, the last post you made, you responded on the show. Okay. Look, I can't read all of it, all right? Like I said, got to keep it brief, got to keep it entertaining. All right, I'll try to read this. I feel some momentum. Okay. The last post I made, you responded to on the show. I really appreciate that, and it made me feel like I had a voice. Something I haven't really felt in a long time. I've been thinking as to what you meant by losing your faith in man and how it shouldn't have been there in the first place. And I think I understand. For the longest time, I've been a nationalist. Not necessarily a racist, but I loved my culture and the Faustian concepts it had always implied. I loved the idea of doing anything I wanted and the idea that I could save the world. I wasn't very religious until recently, but after finding God, I felt a lot less attached to society and more... Wait, doing anything you wanted? No, the idea is that you can't do anything you want. That maybe some things you want are destructive. Anyway, I've wanted to share this with you. Scientists eliminate HIV, one genome, human T. Okay. More HIV. Oh, we solved it. It's cured now, and it always comes back even worse somewhere down the line. Again, bug chasing is a pretty mainstream thing. I think most people they're like, don't ask, don't tell when it comes to that kind of stuff, and they're breeding new, deadlier strains of it. I've noticed that mankind will more than likely get what it wants regardless of the natural circumstances that create it. I've realized once and for all that a sex and drug-filled perma-orgy is inevitable, that one day all life will no longer hunger due to technology, and that drugs will be one day safe and readily available. That humans will degenerate further and further into a simple mess of people who only live to get off and will spend 100 years of their life and perhaps more in a state of euphoric masturbation with nothing else signifying their worth as people. This is the end of goal of Satan, I'm sure. However, unlike most people in this realization, I haven't renounced my faith. I attribute it to myself finding God at a later age than compiling it onto what I already knew. Rather than attributing the things in life, good and bad, towards God, I simply attribute to them towards man. This discredits the basic entitlement that man ascetics find themselves in, that is, that since they have done good in life, they are entitled to good to happen to them. I find myself being good for the sake of good itself, loving good regardless of circumstance, because I believe in it being true. This is my faith in God, the faith in good, and to do regardless of what happens to you. Well, again, like I talked about on Common Filth Extra episode 15, you can't have good without God. It's just not possible. Man's definition of good is not. Good. Man's definition of good is wife sharing. Continuing, I believe that if someone wants good to happen to them, they should do it to themselves, the same way they have their good pour onto others. I think I realized that I can't save the world, that no one can, that I cannot place my faith in man nor in myself, but place my faith in hopes that either my family or my descendants can one day leave this rock and build anew, away from all the evil in the world. Well, it's still tied to the world. Still placing your faith in some sort of man. I'm sure you'll tell me to stand my ground and fight, but I cannot place my faith in man that they can stop this. Well, then don't place your faith in your family or your descendants to stop it. Hope that they in themselves can avoid consuming the world's toxins. And tell them why consuming the world's toxins is a bad thing. That's the best you can do. I'm sure you'll tell me to stand my front ground and fight, but I cannot place my faith in man that can stop this. I had faith that these people infected with STDs and depraved themselves through drugs would one day die. The same way I have/had faith in Trump winning and us finally stopping slave morality. Okay. But all of those things are based in a faith in man. I'm starting to understand that I cannot have faith in that I cannot believe that the world will fix itself or that the world could be fixed easily. The most we can do really is run and keep our traditions alive, keep our hearts burning and striving to be the best. We can't pray and hope for right-wing death squads and neo-Nazi rebellions that will save the world. I can't even place my faith in a rapture because I don't believe God is that comical. Well, the rapture theology is not traditional, so no. I've always imagined God was water going across a river delta. Water does not decide which channel to go across, it just does by itself. The water doesn't think the same way we do. It just is, well, the water doesn't think. Water does not have a mind. Okay, just to get that straight. I have faith that the world will fall apart and die and will be one day rebuilt. I guess that's the most faith in God I can have because I know it to be true. Okay. Hey, Common Filth, I stumbled upon your channel one day, and while I would like to say I was shocked, I actually had some feeling that this should only exist on a deep corner of the web from seeing similar activity from my high school LGBT club. Now, don't you find it all a little bit odd that high schools are encouraging children to organize based on sexual behavior when these children aren't even of the age of consent? As bad as it was, it does not compare to the degeneracy of the people on display on your show, though they were bad themselves with jokes about S&M dildos and anthros with no one to berate them, only circle jerks of each other. Yeah, notice how when these people talk, it's always in relation to themselves. Like, I'll give you an example here. I saw a program description of some show called Gaycation. I think it was on Vice's new TV channel. And the product description was, or the program description was, we go to, is hosted by gay people. We go to Brazil where it's the highest murder rate in the world for LGBTQ people. And I thought to myself, wow, Brazil? Wow, I'm glad. Well, it might be dangerous for LGBTQ people, but I'm really glad that Brazil is safe for everyone else. Are you fucking kidding me? This is what these people believe. They believe they're the only victims, they're the most important victims, and everyone should see it the same way. They're the most selfish pieces of shit. The most self-obsessed, psychotic people. They sincerely believe that where there's danger, that danger only applies to them, or this only applies to them, or it should only apply to them, whatever. They're the last victims, they're the last stand, they're everything. They view themselves as the paragons of humanity. This is why, like the right-wing homosexuals, they take credit for everything. We preserve Western civilization. We preserve it. We are the reason why you are here. Nobody else. We are responsible. But you have more comment here. I have confirmed my beliefs when I came upon the conclusion from reading the Bible and talking to many people who have been where I was, but now I have something to ask. I want to join the military, but I have to finish college. So I not only do I want to make myself proud, but also my family. My big brother always sees disappointment in me, but supports me. My sisters do not want me to join, and my parents and younger brother ask if I'm okay. I really want to serve my country, but I also want to pursue a career in engineering. Tips, advice, anything can help. Sorry about the long question and story. Thanks from a recent listener. Yeah, it's I don't like the military in its present state, and I understand having this impulse to want to serve your country. I understand having a love for your country. And honestly, it's not my decision. I haven't been in the military. I don't know what the military is like. I have friends in the military right now. I have friends who were in the military. And even back then, before the Obama administration, they didn't like it. It was already on the decline. So you have to factor that in. But something else you can factor in is the fact that military does have the GI Bill, I believe. They'll help you pay for college. So they'll help you become an engineer in that way. There are costs and there are benefits that only you can assess because you live your situation. You know your situation better than anybody else, and that's what it has to be. I can't make your decisions for you. All right, email time. commonfilth@commonfilth.com. Hi CF, big fan of your show, especially since I am a father now, and the full extent of the degradation of society has become impossible for me to ignore. I'm ashamed that I was able to put it out of my mind for so long, and I am truly panicked about the prospect of raising my daughter in such an atomized society. Well, you were woken up by the fact that you have an investment in the future. So if you didn't have that child, you wouldn't be aware. You'd be a part of the problem, most likely. Not making any accusations, but that seems to be the pattern. I think for a lot of people, if they actually had children, if they actually created an investment in the future, they would wake up to the realities of things real quick. Now, obviously, there are a lot of exceptions to this, fine. But, those exceptions are usually people that have adopted fashion accessories that just so happen to be children. So you actually have an investment because that's half your blood running through that child. That's how you know you're in it. Anyway, I came across this article in the Pink News. I read Pink News for the same reasons you read Reddit. And I'm worried that if I don't have some diverse content on my work browser, I may get fired. It is an article about the National Health Service here in the UK refusing to fund a new drug that prevents HIV/AIDS in people that are prescribed it. Actually, since this drug has been a thing, there have been cases reported where people have contracted HIV while on this drug. So they're creating a super AIDS, and they don't even, well, they do mean to, because they still engage in the same death, sex bullshit they always have. They're just delaying the inevitable, that's all. I laughed when I read the headline, National Health Service abandons rollout of HIV-preventing PrEP drugs because there is already an incredibly effective way to prevent contracting HIV. Responsible behavior. I stopped laughing when I read the comments section. While I was heartened to see comments that share my opinion that this is essentially a lifestyle disease, and it's the lifestyle that should change, each comment like this was followed by several lengthy rants full of emotional invective. This is the perfect drug for a pharmaceutical company. It cures nothing, but people need to use it regularly for the rest of their lives. I wonder if they care about burdening the National Health Service further, which is famously collapsing under the weight of its obligation to the self-inflicted illnesses of the country. Yeah. Anyway, keep up the good work. Thank you very much for the email. I don't have a lot more to add to that. Very good email. But the pharmaceutical industry does incentivize a lot of this destructive behavior, and they profit off of it. They're profiting off of addiction, essentially, an addiction that is seen as virtuous in the eyes of the English-speaking world, in the eyes of the European world, and that includes America, Australia, and New Zealand. And where is the incentive coming from to believe in this death style? It's coming from the universities. You get an A on that paper, you get an A, you got to get a good job, blah, blah, blah. Oh, you don't want to be this, do you? It'll be hard for you to get a job if you don't believe X, Y, and Z. That's the other part of the incentive. That's where the social incentive comes from. Next, a link, and our society deserves its demise. Polyamorous woman who is dating 4 men outside her marriage reveals why sleeping with other people has made her relationship with her husband stronger. It's because your husband is psychotic. He is not viewing reality. He is not seeing what is. He is viewing life through this filter of, I don't know what to call it. And there's a nice picture of some lady erotically posing with some androgynous dudes. Great. It's great. We need to live in a sexless society. That's great. It's progressive. A married woman who is admitted to being in relationships, and again, this comes from the Daily Mail, with 5 different men at once, just one of whom is her husband, claims that the other men in her life have actually helped to strengthen her marriage. Yeah, you people have an odd definition of strength. You break something and you're like, no, it's better. Writing under the pseudonym of Lisa, the 34-year-old said she has been in a relationship with her husband for half her life, but claims having other partners has improved rather than hindered their partnership. And what's your metric? Speaking to Ellie.com, Lisa, who is currently seeing 4 people other than her husband, revealed that she and her partner have... Now, let me stop here for a second. You have these 4 guys. You can't control what they're doing. You can't keep tabs on them. They're not your husband. So what are they doing? What are these 4 guys bringing home? What are the... Oh, and by the way, the woman that's in this picture, she has a cross around her neck. She has like a choker, like this band around her neck. Crucifix. Lots of sick people out there. Sad, infected people. Yeah, but I lost my train of thought. These 4 guys. You're probably not their only bitch. Their only side piece. What are they bringing home? What kind of diseases are they bringing home? And this guy gets trickled down STDs. We have a trickle down sexual economy. The pus trickles down further and further down, and everybody benefits. Everybody gets theirs. Yeah, trickle down sexual economics. Drip, drip, drip. What? This is a wrong color. This is weird. Okay. Revealed that she and her partner have been enjoying an open marriage for the past few years, explaining that they have come up with a certain set of guidelines to ensure that they both stay comfortable and happy with their arrangement. Yeah, I'm sure he's happy with your system. Your blood, everything running through your blood it's tainted with the DNA of other men. Miley Cyrus attacks Donald Trump for his stupid ass sexist shit after his tweet about Ted Cruz's wife. What an important part of American culture, the rich tapestry of culture that is American. I'm glad she's a part of it. This skank whose nipples are covered with these chrome suspenders. Great. Well, now that distracted me, got that distraction out of the way. At the moment, Lisa explained she has 4 partners other than her husband, 2 of which she also shares with him. What the fuck? Oh, God. God, it's sick. It's disgusting. She also shares them with him. This is a sexless blob of cum. That's his diet. It's cum. To begin, they used to see new partners as a couple, but 5 years ago they started seeing others independently. I remember last year I read a CNN thing where it was about polyamorous love in Silicon Valley. And there's this girl, she's older than this guy she's with, and she has all these boyfriends, and he has no other girlfriends. And I called it too. I was like, yeah, this guy's he's getting the short end of the stick. There's no good end of the stick, but there are shorter and longer ones. And yeah, the only reason he'd agree to such a thing is because he's so fucking pathetic that this is the only amount of female attention he can get. And this is the same kind of thing. he's servicing the Aryan Ubermensch, because There's a Greek and Roman tradition of that. That's the kind of attention he can get. Sometimes she has many as 3 dates in a week with other people. Lovely. Right now I have 4 other partners, 2 of whom we see together, she explained. We each have maybe 2 dates with other people a month on average. Sometimes we go months where we only date and have sex with each other. Other times we have 3 dates in a week. My personality type is conducive to multiple relationships. So your personality type is conducive towards treachery. I'm a connector. I grew up with a really big family. I'm the kind of person who requires a lot of attention. Oh, is that what it is? Really? Yeah, big families have existed throughout time. And they use it as a justification. How many of them used it as a justification growing up in a big family? My heart's just too big for one person. How many of them said that, before things got screwy like they are now? I'm the kind of person who requires a lot of attention. You require a lot of cum. That's what you require. I need to talk things through to feel better about them. That's a big part of how I function. I have a lot of love to give. Oh, what did I say? I didn't even read ahead. I like to dote on people. Polyamory helps me to do that without putting all my needs on my husband. Late stage. Final stretch of life. She said they first brought up the subject after moving in together aged 18 when they came across the question, how do you feel about monogamy, in a magazine survey, and they both selected the answer, it's an unrealistic expectation. Oh my god. So what happens when your relationships is based on masturbation? Well, it gets boring sometimes. It's like, look, if you value the tribe above all else, this is what's a part of your tribe. And this is nothing to base your civilization off of. A year later, Lisa instigated a threesome with one of his coworkers. We didn't talk about it just then, but let it simmer for a year until we had an opportunity to have a threesome with a coworker of his, which she and I instigated. Before the threesome, she told him she was fine with having sexual contact with the woman, but not penetrative penis and vagina sex. But in the heat of a moment, she said she had a change of heart. She said, I was so turned on by watching them together. They were gorgeous, and I was loving every minute of it. I didn't feel left out like I thought I would. I totally changed the rule right then and there. That seems to sum up my learning curve with non-monogamy. Yeah, non-monogamy. That's great. Yeah, monogamy sucks. It's only the thing that has kept civilization afloat for forever. For as long as there's been civilization. This is exhausting. This is awful. Now our only rules are honesty, safe sex, and no taking time for mutual commitments. She said she had a meltdown when they were thinking about marriage over whether or not they would be monogamous. It's not marriage. Oh, great, there's a video of it. I'm not watching it, but these people, they're showing their faces. But once they were engaged, she panicked over the idea of not having another first kiss with somebody. Grow the fuck up. Why the fuck do you want to be fucking 15 years old forever? Grow the fuck up. Lucky for her husband's feelings were mutual. Of course they were. First kisses are the best, she said. The idea of being not monogamous meant that kind of thing was over, and that felt so sad for me. Grow up! When I shared it with my husband, he felt the same way. He said smartphones have been a huge blessing to people in more than one relationship. Oh, the devil technology enables this. Yeah, I'm real surprised at that. It's so much easier to make people feel like they're a part of your day by sending a quick hello text or a picture of something that reminded you of them that helps them keep close to you even as you have a separate life. She added, I have a long-distance partner where I only see her a couple times a year, but we're in communication every day via text or other social media. What is there to say? We rely on each other also for emotional support with things that are going in both our lives. With my two partners, it's more casual and sexually oriented. Yeah, just keep giving yourself away. It's great. You're really building a lot, and you're not consuming and destroying. You're building a great future for everyone. Again, these sex perverts can only view things in the context of me, I, me. Next. In Common Filth Radio 81, you talked about how people spurg over IQ and crime statistics, and it reminded me of something I saw on TV. Buckle up because it's a doozy. My mom was watching Oprah Winfrey Network, and there is a series where they look back on people who were previously on the Oprah show and see how they are doing now. One in particular stuck out to me because they showed the original interview from the late 90s about this white British kid who was a super genius or something to that effect, and Britain's youngest CEO at the time. There's a small clip from the original interview and how from a very young age he felt different than the other kids. They show what the kid looks like some 20 odd years later, and the motherfucker is now a tranny, who by the way looks somewhere between 50 to 70 years old, but probably only being like 30 in actuality. Oh, let's blame society for making life on trans people so stressful. Let's blame society. This person has nothing to do with their own bullshit. They're not responsible in any way. I got a great kick from it because it reaffirmed my belief that no matter how IQ smart you are, you can still be mentally and spiritually retarded. A viewpoint you first provided for me. Thank you for everything. Well, thank you for sharing that moment with us. And yeah, we just need to get our birth rates up. No, there's no first and second death. There's no spiritual death and then the physical death. No, that's all religious superstition. This is fine. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it at all. And this is another problem that we have. People fetishize the opposite sex so much. It's so mysterious, interactions with the opposite sex, that people create this idea of it in their head, probably from watching too much porn. They want to be that object of desire, so they want to be their own girl. Yeah, be your own girl. Great. That'll yeah, maybe you could impregnate yourself. Maybe you'll be like a what do they call that? They breed like you have sex with yourself and breed. See, that's not asexual. I don't know. Autosexual. Yeah, we'll be autosexual. Be your own autosexual. Be your own girl. Yeah, IQ smart, and look where it leads you. It leads you to being a weirdo that is neither male. It's not male, it's not female. I'm not sure if this has been asked before in one of your radio episodes, because I'm still going through all of them. How do you feel about the Syrian immigrants imposing their lifestyles on countries that they fled to? I.e. Germany wanting to ban pork in schools because it was offending refugees, or Swedish schools banning the Swedish flag for the same reasons. Look, if these cultures were hostile towards outsiders, towards like real outsiders, they wouldn't go there in the first place. You see, if these people really want to leave their homes, they just go to a place that is culturally compatible rather than a place with give me dats and pushovers. That's what Europe is. That's what Western and Europe is. It's a pushover culture. And they know that. They know that they're fucking weaklings. They know that even if there are people that stand up for themselves, they'll get henpecked by their women, because I think that's what defines Europe. They took a liking to feminism pretty quickly. The men want to be led around by their women. It's very strange. They want to have their women make their decisions for them. And then when a couple of guys, they escape that teaching and they start taking matters into their own hands, they're like, the women are like, we're not your women. We're not your women. Stubborn. Why do you want to follow? Why do you want to help people who are so brazenly stubborn, who despise the help you provide to them? It's insane. And nobody has the balls to say, fuck you, bitch, this is what's going to happen. So shut the fuck up and get out of the way. You're not in charge anymore. I am. Nobody says that. That's why they keep electing women. I read an article, Germany's right-wing answer to Angela Merkel. And it's a fucking short-haired woman. You tried that the first time. Oh, but she believes X, Y, and Z. It reminds me of the people that excuse... Never mind. Just fucking quit leading, quit following the pussy scent. Quit following it around like a bunch of fucking idiots. Put away the cum, make some decisions. Independent of that. Seriously, why do you think Europe took such a liking to feminism? Europe's a pretty androgynous place, isn't it? Fuck. These Jewish guys from Germany, they told us that gender roles are arbitrary. Yeah, finally somebody said it. Finally. I always wanted a girlfriend with a penis. Yeah, that's what I want. Yeah, let's make that happen. Let's orient our political system around this sick fantasy we have about bitches with dicks, women with penis envy, men with pussy envy. And all these women are like, where did the men go? They removed themselves from existence because they're very chivalrous. They gave you what you wanted. They died and gave you control. Where do we go from here? I do have some emails, but I want to give them the attention they deserve because they're pretty personal stuff. But how long is this episode? It's not 2 hours. How long? 95 minutes, some seconds. I don't know. I actually record a little bit of silence before for noise removal purposes before every episode. So it's about an hour and a half. It's over an hour and a half, definitely. And there's some stuff that I will get to next week. Don't worry. And if I didn't get to you on Reddit, just repost it. And just have some restraint when it comes to the Reddit stuff because it's difficult to read sometimes when it's all bunched up into one paragraph or there are a lot of long paragraphs. So it's just a personal thing. I'm more than happy to read this stuff. It's just you gotta make it easier on me. So I don't have anything else planned for this episode. So yeah, let's call it here. Let's say goodbye. And the fun doesn't have to stop here. You could still listen to Common Filth Extra episode 15 on sale now, $1 or more if you want to hear more r/cuckold community posts and a lot of other stuff. It's a good episode. I highly recommend it. I was real happy with how it turned out. And yeah, if you combine this with that one, I think it'll go over 2 hours, but this one will not reach 2 hours, but that's okay. I think it is. I think it was a good show, and I thank you for listening. So, with all that being said, you take care of yourselves, be good to each other, and I will talk to you later.
Grown, ain't I? The skinny nigga with the fro to the slightly bigger nigga who's a killer with the flow. Went from YouTube beats and SoundCloud, nigga. The only difference now is that I found Twitter. Fuck it, it's struggle rap, man. They never see the trouble that I'm going through. The way I sing, they think I live in bubble wrap. Fuck all that, even though I'm on some poppin' shit. With my niggas as my witness, I'm a nigga who can spit. Don't believe me? Overlooking my potential, I'm that poet to a phone, that poet was to a pencil. My mental is similar to that of a lion, and I'm the king of